Howdy once again, it's Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher, and you are watching tips number 1005, and this is part one of a several part video, 3 or 4, I'm not sure how many, regarding the little Atlas 6-inch lathe and this attachment here that allows you to undercut the mica on the commutator, and I have chucks here that will allow you to chuck it up and turn the commutator before you undercut it, and all of that other lost technology, probably something you will never do because everything now is just throwaway and then replaced with a new one from China. We don't typically repair these armatures anymore except on antique cars, tractors and trucks and so on. And these were used, of course, both in starters and generators. So let me start by talking about what an armature lathe is and how it's different from a regular lathe. Not very much, really. So let's start. This is a page from the 1950 Atlas machine catalog, and there it is. The complete Atlas armature outfit. Again, it's the 6-inch lathe with the appropriate chucks and the undercutting device, and also notice that it doesn't include other things such as the gears and tool holders that you might not need, and it's just ready to plug in with the motor, and it would be typically sold to automotive repair shops. They used to call them auto electric shops. And farther down on the page is the beautiful little mica undercutter, which we're going to talk about here momentarily. Now, they made these in two different sizes, for the 10 and 12-inch lathe and for the 6-inch. And I think only the base at the very bottom is the difference between the two. And further down, there is the armature chuck kit, and I'm going to talk much more about that. And they sold two versions of this, one for the 10 and 12-inch lathe, and the smaller one you see right here for the 6-inch lathe, because it has number 1 Morse taper shanks. Here we are at the 6-inch Atlas lathe, and I just want to show you real quickly how to set this up. I'm not going to actually make any chips, that'll be in future videos, but I'm just trying to explain the general setup of what we're doing here. And there are 3 different ways of holding the armature, so I think I'll cover those real quickly. But first, let me show you how to mount the mica undercutter. So to mount it, remove the screw and take this little cover plate off. That only takes a second, and then you see there's a dovetail right here, and that goes right on the cross slide like that, and you can move it up and back and forth until you get it in the position that you want, and you would lock the wing nut. Most of the older armature shafts have center holes, and this one does, but not all of them. Also, sometimes those center holes will be beat up by Bubba and not usable unless you clean them. But first I want to show you how to hold it with the dog. If you're going to hold the armature between centers, put a dog on there of the appropriate size, and a drive plate, dog plate, face plate, and a center in the headstock, and then set it up like this between centers. Lock everything, and then it's ready to both turn and to undercut. Let me show you another way. I just showed you a picture in the catalog of the Jacobs Chuck commutator kit, and Jimmy Goff from Indiana was very kind to me and sent this along to me, but these are special chucks. Now, they made these, as I said, for the 12-inch lathe, and this is for the smaller lathe, because these are 2 specialty chucks. I'll talk more about it in a minute, but this one has the extra large jaws. It's called an armature chuck, and a number 2 Morse taper, and that'll fit directly in the headstock. I'll get that out of the way like that. And then the other tailstock chuck, and I've shown these many times, has brass jaws, number 1 Morse taper, and that's going to go in the tailstock. There it is. There's the brass-jawed chuck in the tailstock and the big chuck in the headstock. What I do not like here, and that's just the way you see it in the catalog, what I do not like here is the amount of spindle sticking out. It's just way too much in my opinion. There are Jacobs chucks that will fit directly on here as well. I do not have one of those to show you, but you also could just use a regular 3-jaw chuck if it's accurate on the headstock. So as you can see, there's various ways of holding it, and all of this can be done on other brands of machinery as well, but of course this will not fit, for instance, on a South Bend. They have their own system for that. Thank you, Jimmy Goff, for sending me all of what you see right here. The problem is this was badly damaged in shipping. I've talked about that before. So this needs to be rebuilt, repaired, reconditioned, and that will be the next video because that's going to take a lot of time. But let's talk about these two right now, and I want to start with this, although I have already mentioned it. They do not sell these anymore, so don't even bother looking, but you might find them on eBay and they won't be cheap. Nice little metal box, and the date right here is 1954. At least that's when they printed this informational sheet right here. So that's interesting, a little bit hard to read, but you can always learn something by paying attention. But the interesting thing here is this chuck. Now it's missing the arbor, but no problem. I happen to have one in stock. And that's a number 3 Morse tape, a number 3 Jacobs taper, a number 2 Morse taper, and I believe I need to cut the tang off in order for it to work right. And this hole has to be cleaned up. Matter of fact, the entire chuck is actually it's in great condition other than a little corrosion, which doesn't hurt a thing. But in examining this, I could not have been more shocked. I had to clean it up a little bit to even read it, but it's genuine Jacobs, Hartford, Connecticut, and it's a number 75A armature chuck. I have never seen what looks like a regular drill chuck. It is an armature chuck, and it does not close all the way. I think it'll go down to about 1/4 inch, so it's not meant for drilling, but it opens nice and wide to hold the armature shaft. So I thought that was interesting, and I went back into an older Jacobs catalog and they made no mention of it, no listing. So this is the only one I've ever seen, at least that I have paid attention to. So I will clean that up and mount that permanently. But let's take a look at the other chuck. Again, a lot of rust, but the brass jaws are in excellent shape. And these can be used for other purposes, but certainly not holding drills for drilling, but for any work that you need to hold that does not have a center hole, it would work just nice in the tailstock. So to open and close it, you turn the big sleeve, and when you get it the right size, then you lock it down. And of course you have to oil the brass jaws. So that's all I'm going to say about these little beauties at this time, other than thank you, Jimmy. There was no chuck key, but it uses a K3, which is probably the most common one, and I got a dozen of them. Well, even though this just came from Indiana, 100 miles, the post office did a number on it, as they usually do. But what did they damage? First of all, they broke the crank, as you can see. And there's little pieces of it, of the spokes down in the box itself. But here is the miracle. It's almost like divine intervention. Do you remember when I was at Arnfest 2 months ago and I bought that lathe, but there was a box of miscellaneous tooling included, and it came from Nebraska. And you know what was in the box? A hand wheel. And it appears to be the correct one. I just can't believe it that I actually had one of those. But I believe that Atlas used this on more than one machine for different purposes. Maybe on the tailstock or the carriage or other accessories. Because why was it in there? And it looks like it's brand new. So that problem is taken care of. But here's another problem. And maybe this didn't happen in shipping, although I think it did. Can you see that this shaft is bent? Now I hope it's not the motor shaft, that the bend is out here, because I will make a new one, and that'll be in a following video. The only trick here And I almost stripped this tiny little screw. It's a left-hand screw. So I need a 540 left-hand tap in order to even make one of these. You know, there's no end to the aggravation, is there? And finally, it needs a new cord. As you can see, UL approved. And that's typical of any and all motors or old devices, you know, that are 50 years or more. They're brittle. Look at that. Now, Bubba would go ahead and use this with impunity, and he probably wouldn't get hurt either. So I got to replace that. I might use the inline switch, but I want to ground the thing, so I have to use 3-wire to meet the, you know, I always follow the electrical codes, NEMA I think they call it. So I probably won't use the switch, and we'll just plug it in for as often as I might actually use this. Now let's talk about the little cutters. Well, the cutter that was on here was chipped and bad, and where do you get these? Well, I've already asked that question online, and several people helped me, as usual. But the interesting thing is, one Mr. Jim Files out in California, and he's contributed to the channel before, sent me a handful of these tiny little cutters, and they are 1/8 inch holes, and about 3/8 diameter, but they sold them in 5 different thicknesses, and these are rather thick, about 40 thousandths thick, and they might be too thick to undercut. Yeah, they are. They undercut that. Now, let me show you in the catalog sheet real quickly the different sizes. Now, whether or not Atlas Closing still supplies them, I do not know. Thank you to everyone out there that's sending me information and tools and everything. But this is a genuine Atlas sheet from 1976, and on it, it tells exactly how to grind the cutting tool, how to set it up. As you see right there, centerless and center type, kind of what I just showed you. And they talk about the cutter and all of the procedures there for doing the actual turning, or truing they call it, it's the same as turning, and the undercutting. And here's a beautiful sheet for repair parts. So I will be using this, of course, when I take it apart. Not that it's that complicated, but there's a complete parts breakdown, and there's the part I need. They don't tell you it's a left-hand screw, do they? By the way, some of these came with Bodine motors, and others came with Dumor. Mine's a Bodine, which was a very popular make. But down at the bottom of the sheet, and I got a little sidetracked here, I'm going to show you the different cutters. Well, I said bottom of the sheet. Actually, here they are. And you can see that they made them in 5 sizes. Some of them very thin. For instance, the 15 thousandths is just like a 64th thick, approximately. And they gave you 1 of each, I believe, or maybe 2 of each with the original kit. But I think I need some thinner ones in order to complete the demonstration. I've talked about this book several times. Some of the books say Atlas, some say Craftsman. They are just different covers. Everything inside is identical. So get yourself one of these from eBay, or I believe Vintage Machinery has them, but you'll have to print them off on your printer. But near the back of the book are several pages on how to do this work. Let me turn the page. Now, I'm not going to read this to you, but you might recognize this picture here. It's really the same picture that's right there. So some of the information is duplicate, but that's just fine. And I'll be giving a demonstration on this anyway, so you will not have to go through the pain of reading it. This is the 1966 Sears Craftsman tool catalog, and there's that beautiful little 6-inch lathe. Exactly the same as the Atlas, but at the bottom where you see the accessories, there is the MICA undercutter and the armature kit. So they sold the same thing at Sears as they did from an Atlas industrial supplier. If you watched my video fairly recently where I was up at Arnfest and I bought that 6-inch machine, I also bought a True Cut armature lathe, but it's incomplete. And it will be the subject of the videos in the future, maybe. If this doesn't fly, you know, why would I bother with the True Cut? But there's so much missing off my True Cut armature lathe, but yesterday, no, a couple days ago, on Sunday morning, early in the morning, someone knocked at the door, and it was my friend from Pontiac, David Kennedy, and he brought this kit to me on loan. I'm not going to keep it, but he said if there's anything in here that you can use on the True Cut, well, go ahead and take it out. But in here are the belts and extra parts and I don't know what all. Jaws, that'll be covered, but I've never seen a kit like this before. Have you? And I thought, oh, wonderful. There is the arbor. But no. It needs a hole right here. So True Cut used a different system, but the general principles is identical. So watch for another video on this, which I think you will find interesting if I actually do it, but it'll be a little while down the line. All kinds of parts in here, brand new, and this is also from the 50s, I believe. There's a parts list and a price list and all of that. Now please don't ask me for any parts out of here. I do not own this. Possibly I'm off topic right now, but this is the South Bend How to Run a Lathe book. They printed 5 million copies in many different languages, but there are 2 pages on how to work on armatures. And they use quite a different method for undercutting the mica. And there it is, but it's a hand operated machine. That is, it's not motorized. It uses a little hacksaw blade, I believe, which is the way I did it when I was in high school. But for those of you that have a South Bend, go ahead and read those pages. Also, South Bend printed a lot of little short booklets, such as how to lubricate your lathe, how to do this, how to do that. And they did have a little booklet on automotive work, specifically armature work. Check it out. You can probably find copies of that on Vintage Machinery. Well, as promised, I didn't make any chips. I just gabbed for 15 minutes. But if you want to see me rebuild this MICA undercutter, that'll be in tips 1006. And I think you might enjoy that, and in the following videos I'll actually put it to use and turn a commutator and undercut the mica. I know you can't wait. So leave a comment, tell me what you think of the video, tell me where you're from. I'm very interested in you guys that are overseas, you know, what country you're in, and it kind of tickles me to read that. So even if you just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, do whatever you want, but you know, it helps to leave a comment and give me a like. So I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one.